Hi, I'm Danny, 28, and the morning the cruise ship pulled away without me, I was still standing on the dock in a new sundress, holding a gift basket labeled Bon Voyage, Buzzkill. I'd spent 6 months planning it. The whole thing. A private, world-class cruise for my parents' 30th anniversary. I customized every detail: routes through the Mediterranean, excursions in Japan, a personalized chef menu based on their wedding reception, and a balcony suite with enough space for yoga and morning mimosas. I used my bonus and half my savings. Why? Because they always dreamed of seeing the world, and I thought, idiotically, that giving them the world would make them see me. I even included one extra ticket. For me. Not because I needed to be glued to them the whole time, but because I wanted 3 weeks where we could finally connect like a real family. Where we weren't just orbiting around my stepfather's ego or my mom's guilt-saturated silence. Spoiler alert, they took the cruise. I did not. The morning of departure, I was dragging my suitcase down the gangway ramp, Starbucks in hand, when I saw the ship pulling away early. Like, a full hour early. I panicked. I sprinted. I waved my arms like a castaway with a broken flare gun. And then I saw them. On the upper deck. Champagne in hand. My mother turned away when she saw me. My stepfather lifted his glass. And then he mouthed the word Buzzkill. That word. That goddamn word. Backstory time. I grew up being told I was too intense, too emotional, too much. My stepfather, Dan, yes, Dan and Danny, and no, I did not get a vote, called me the family critic. Mom always just looked tired. Every Christmas, every birthday, I tried a little harder to earn softness. Quieter, nicer, smarter. It never worked. So this cruise, it wasn't just a trip. It was my last-ditch thesis on love. My final attempt at rewriting the story. And they left me on the dock. The cruise that I researched, paid for, planned to the hour, sailed away with my parents, and without me. Why? According to the sticky note they left with the dock agent. Danny, we thought you might be more comfortable staying behind. This trip is about joy. Not tension. Please understand. We love you. Try the spa voucher. They included a spa voucher. For a strip mall in Miami. I stood there for 10 minutes, waves slapping at the pier, my coffee now lukewarm. Then I picked up the gift basket, dropped it in the nearest trash can, pulled out my phone, and made a call. To my therapist? No. To my lawyer. Because I hadn't just paid for the cruise. I had gifted it. Through a shared travel trust one created in all our names. And that trust had a clause: all parties must board together. Otherwise, the booking was considered forfeited. Let's just say, Dan didn't read the fine print. The lawyer's name was Marissa, and she'd helped me set up the travel trust in the first place. Not because I was expecting drama, but because when you've grown up around people who use guilt the way other families use olive oil, liberally and in everything, you learn to make legal backing part of your love language. Tell me exactly what happened, she said, and I told her. Every ugly, surreal, humiliating detail. She paused. You said they boarded without you? Yep. Waved. Toasted. Left me standing there like rejected luggage. And they didn't contact you afterward? Unless you count a $20 spa voucher as contact. I could hear her clicking away at a keyboard. Then you've got a case. Now here's the thing, I wasn't trying to sue my parents. I didn't want revenge. I wanted acknowledgement. I wanted them to see what they'd done. That this wasn't just some passive oversight. This was betrayal, prepackaged in silk robes and piña coladas. While Marissa worked on freezing the travel trust, which, thanks to the clause, gave me every right to reclaim the funds, I checked into a quiet Airbnb on the opposite side of Miami. I didn't cry. I cleaned. Like aggressively. The host left one of those relax and enjoy notes on the counter, and I used it to scrub a coffee ring. Then the texts started rolling in. MOM, 3:17 p.m. Honey, I hope you're okay. Please don't ruin this for us. We all needed this break. Dan, 3:25 p.m. It's not too late to let things go. You chose drama again. I won't let that infect this trip. MOM, 4:02 p.m. Danny, please don't do anything rash. You'll feel better after the spa. The SBA. As if cucumber water could erase abandonment. I didn't answer. Instead, I Venmo requested them each $14,800, half the crew's value, citing breach of travel trust agreement, Article 4, Clause B. Dan rejected it instantly. My mother didn't respond. By the next morning, things escalated. Marissa called me while I was half asleep and wrapped in a towel. So, Dan tried to move the crew's funds out of the trust. He triggered an alert. I've put a hold on everything. Their room will still be paid through tonight. After that, it's up to the cruise line whether they stay on board. Wait. You can do that? I did do that. It was petty. It was legal. It was everything I'd been taught never to be. And for once in my life, it felt good. I got a call later from the cruise concierge. A polite voice dripping in customer service speak. Miss Collins? We have your parents on board, and there appears to be some conflict regarding the financial arrangement. Oh, I said sweetly. Is there a problem with the trust? A pause. Yes, well, they mentioned you may be handling that now. I am. Silence. Then she said, your stepfather is not taking it well. I smiled. Sounds like a him problem. And just like that, the ship had turned into a very expensive hostage situation with unlimited shrimp cocktail. I got the video from another passenger. A stranger. It came through Instagram, sent by someone I didn't know, with the message, you don't know me but I think this is yours. The footage was shaky, filmed on a phone from behind a decorative potted palm near the pool deck. But the audio was crisp. Dan was screaming at the guest services desk. I don't care what the contract says. That girl doesn't get to ruin our anniversary. The cruise employee, bless her service-trained soul, stood there like a statue wrapped in a name tag. Sir, as I explained, the travel trust you signed on to includes a mandatory joint boarding clause. Since your daughter did not board, and you chose to proceed anyway, the funds have been legally frozen. Your room is now pending full revocation. What does that even mean? He bellowed. We've been here for 3 days. That means, sir, she said gently, you are currently enjoying complimentary amenities, but have not legally paid for this segment of the cruise. Cut to Mom in the background, clutching a mimosa and trying not to cry. Her mouth opened like she wanted to intervene, but Dan shot her a look I knew well, the shut up now look. She closed it. The video ended with Dan storming off, muttering something about lawyers and calling me a vindictive brat. The woman who sent it followed up with one more message. Girl. Your stepdad is a walking ulcer. Good for you. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So I did both. Marissa called later that evening. They're off the ship, she said. The cruise line offered them a choice: settle their outstanding balance with their own funds, or disembark at the next port. They chose the latter. Where's the next port? Panama. I snorted. I hope it rains. And then the real kicker, Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was clipped, guilt-laced, and barely restrained. Danny. I don't even know who you are right now. We didn't mean to exclude you. We just wanted peace. Dan thought, well, maybe he was wrong. But this? Freezing the funds? Getting us kicked off? That's not love. That's revenge. And if you think this proves a point, I hope it was worth it. Because you've made us look like fools. To everyone. She didn't cry. She wanted me to. And maybe 5 years ago, I would have. Maybe even last year. But now I was done bleeding for people who only loved me when I was useful. I played the message once more, then deleted it. And then I did something even I wasn't expecting. I booked a cruise. Solo. Not the same line. Not the same route. Mine started in Barcelona. And this time, nobody could leave me behind. Barcelona hit different when you weren't running from something, but towards something. I stepped off the plane wearing the same sundress I was supposed to wear on the original cruise. Only now it felt less like a costume and more like armor. Bright blue halter tie pockets. Real ones. I boarded the Serenade Voyager alone, wheeling my little blue suitcase behind me like a quiet middle finger to the dockside ghost of that first betrayal. No parents. No spa vouchers. Just me, my Kindle, and a 7-day itinerary through the Western Mediterranean. and something shifted. I didn't check my phone for hours. I let myself watch the sea foam chew at the wake behind the ship. I let the ocean erase them. Not out of bitterness, but out of necessity. That kind of pain doesn't deserve to live in your carry-on. The first night, I sat at the captain's welcome dinner next to a woman named Rena. Early 60s, solo traveler, red lipstick like armor, and a laugh that made the waiter blush. She asked me why I was traveling alone. I told her the truth. Gave my parents a cruise, I said between sips of white wine. They took it without me. Called me a buzzkill. So I took one without them. She paused mid-bite. Good for you. I cried about it for 3 days. Even better, she said. Means you felt it and kept going. Rena and I became fast friends. She was a retired attorney with zero patience for mediocrity and a passion for collecting bad decisions and turning them into great stories. Every day, we explored a new city. Marseilles. Genoa. Cannes. We drank too much espresso, got sunburned at a nude beach, by accident, mostly, and laughed until we snorted on a funicular in Nice. Back in my cabin one night, I checked my email for the first time since Panama. 32 messages. 6 missed calls. 1 voicemail from my mom labeled, "Please. Just listen." I did. Her voice was smaller this time. Fragile. Danny. I'm sorry. I should have said that sooner. Dan said you'd ruin the trip? That if we let you come, it would all fall apart. I didn't fight him. I wanted peace, and instead I got silence. And now, he's blaming me. For all of it. For you. For Panama. He says you set us up. That you wanted us to fail. There was a long pause. Did you? Another pause. Then softer. Even if you did, I don't think I can blame you anymore. The message ended without a goodbye. I didn't cry. I just sat there, rocking with the boat, thinking about how many versions of me had waited their entire life to hear that voice sound like that. Not defeated. Just honest. And here's the funny part. That was the moment I realized I didn't need them to take me on the cruise. I'd brought myself. When I got back to Miami, I didn't call them. Not out of spite. Out of peace. There's a difference between cutting someone off and putting them down gently because you can't carry them anymore. I didn't want revenge. I just didn't want them, their versions of me, their lectures on tone, their habit of confusing control for care. And I certainly didn't want to hear Dan say, "You overreacted." Again. So I moved out of the city. Found a short-term sublet in Asheville, quiet, green, and 1,200 miles from their judgment. A little cabin with bad insulation and great light. I started waking up early to hike. I started journaling again. I made coffee with an AeroPress like the pretentious hipster I apparently was becoming. Then, one afternoon, a package arrived. No return address. Just my name, in my mom's handwriting, still round and careful like a second-grade teacher. Inside was a book, The Art of Letting Go by some therapist-Y-sounding author. And tucked between the pages, a note. Danny, I know we don't have the same language for apologies. I don't know how to undo what I did. I should have fought harder. For you. Not against him. That cruise, your gift, was something I'll never stop feeling ashamed about. I can't fix it. But I can start listening. If you'll let me. Love, Mom. It wasn't enough. But it was something. I waited a week. Then I wrote her back. Not a long letter. Just a card, with a photo I took of myself on the cruise. Sunglasses, wind-blown hair, the ocean behind me. On the back I wrote, "This is who I am when I'm not trying to prove I deserve a seat. Maybe we can start there." That same week, Dan emailed me. Full-on manifesto mode. Lines like, "You embarrassed us. You've weaponized generosity. You were always difficult." I read it. Twice. And then I replied with 2 words. Travel clause. And blocked him. That night, I went out with new friends. Rena had introduced me to a network of ex-lawyers turned freedom chasers, and they adopted me like a stray. We danced on a rooftop bar, drank mezcal we couldn't pronounce, and screamed along to early 2000s hits like we'd survived something. Because we had. And I realized something, standing under string lights and an October moon. You can't save people from the ships they choose to board. But you can build your own. And set sail. It was Thanksgiving when I saw them again. Not by choice. I'd RSVP'd, no, to the big family dinner. Politely. Quietly. No drama. Just a soft boundary with a firm edge. But Eliza, my cousin, not the evil twin in this tale, texted me the night before. I know you're not coming, but just so you know, they're showing a slideshow. I blinked. Of what? Photos from the cruise. Oh. That kind of slideshow. The next day, I didn't go. I stayed in Asheville. I made a single-serving Thanksgiving, garlic mashed potatoes, a fancy pie I didn't need, and enough roasted Brussels sprouts to offend the air quality in my entire building. And just as I was settling in for a quiet meal with zero passive-aggressive questions about my dating life or career choices, my phone lit up again. A video. From Eliza. It was the slideshow. She'd secretly recorded it from her seat, phone half-tucked under the table. My mother was narrating. This was in Florence. I think. No, wait, this was Naples. Dan wanted to skip the tour, said it was too hot. But it was beautiful. Then a pause. Slide change. A photo of them on the upper deck, toasting champagne. Dan's smug face. My mother's eyes a little glassy. You could barely see me. Off to the side, blurry on the dock. Oh, she said, voice faltering. This was the morning we left. Someone asked. Where's Danny? Another pause. She didn't come, my mom said quietly. There was a disagreement. Eliza's voice, off camera. She paid for it, right? Silence. Then Dan cut in, louder, defensive. She chose to stay behind. She was in a mood. We weren't going to let her ruin everything. That's when my mom did something I'll never forget. She turned. Looked directly into the camera. Eliza hadn't meant for that to happen, and said clearly, for the whole room to hear. No, Dan. We left her. Silence again. Deep, cavernous. Then the next slide. And then, mercifully, Eliza ended the video. She sent a final text right after. Thought you'd want to know. She said it. I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I needed the admission, but because I didn't expect it to come in public. It wasn't a confession. It was a crack in the wall. And that's the thing about cracks. They let light in. Christmas came, and for the first time in years I didn't feel like I had to make a choice between being included or being whole. I spent it with Rena and her disaster-wonderful family in Santa Fe. Her daughter made tamales from scratch, and her son-in-law played the piano like every song was a love letter to surviving weird family trauma. We played board games, got mildly drunk on cranberry sangria, and no one asked me why I was still single, or still mad. I got a card from my mom in the mail the day after. No return address again. Just a handwritten note, trembling letters like she'd written them slowly. Danny. I said it. I told the truth. Finally. I don't know how to fix what I helped break, but I want to stop lying. To you. To myself. To the room. Dan and I aren't doing well. That probably doesn't surprise you. But I see it clearer now. You weren't a buzzkill. You were the only one asking us to be honest. I'm sorry for making you feel like that was a burden. It wasn't. It was brave. I love you. And I'd like to try again. No pressure. Just maybe coffee. You pick the place. I'll pay. Love. Mom. I held the note for a long time. Not crying. Just thinking. About all the versions of myself that might have framed this moment as a victory or a trap. But this wasn't either. It was just a woman trying to learn how to love her daughter out loud, finally. I didn't respond right away. I let myself sit in the not knowing. Because sometimes healing isn't a door that swings open, it's one you crack, and then wait to see who knocks. And then, one Tuesday afternoon in January, I got a photo from Eliza. It was my mom, sitting at an outdoor cafe, hands wrapped around a mug. The caption was just, "She's here. Every Tuesday. Same table. No pressure." So I went. The first time, I sat at a table across the street and just watched her. She looked older. But lighter. Like someone who'd stopped holding her breath. The second Tuesday, I walked up and said, "You're in my seat." She blinked. Then smiled. "I've been saving it." We didn't talk about the cruise right away. We talked about the cold snap, and the weird dog she adopted from the shelter, and how Dan had taken a temporary trip to Arizona that no one was really in a rush to end. It wasn't therapy. It wasn't absolution. It was just human. It was enough. A few months later, I got a message from Rena. "Going on a cruise again. Room for one. You in?" I paused. Then called my mom. "Hey," I said. "We're gonna try this again. But this time, I'm picking the passengers." She laughed. Nervously. "You mean? I mean you can come. If you want. If you can leave the guilt at home." She didn't answer right away. But when she did, her voice cracked a little. "Then yes. I'd love to." That summer, we sailed through the Norwegian fjords. Me, Mom, Rena, and 2 of Rena's wild grandkids who called me Captain Danny, after I beat them at shuffleboard and bought them endless mocktails. There was laughter. And space. And no Dan. And one morning, as the sun hit the edge of the water and Mom sat beside me with a knit hat pulled too low over her ears, she whispered, "You're not a buzzkill. You're the compass." I didn't need to hear it. But it still felt damn good. And that's the thing. Sometimes you give your heart away on a ship and it leaves without you. But sometimes, when you rebuild, you become the ship. And this time, I wasn't waving from the dock. I was steering. The end.